ego or influence? Which is showing up when you go to serve others? Got two stories for you. Let's jump right in.
You are watching Influence Media, PSIT TV, the Netflix of biz brands.
Get over yourself. Ego or influence? Which is it? In today's episode, I've got two stories for you. We're going to look at what the Bible says, what research says, all of which are strategies to optimize your opportunity to become famous for what you do. Trudy Beerman here of PSIT TV, Profitable Social Influence TV. I'm also a doctoral candidate at Liberty University, and because I'm in the media space, I'm pursuing research in the area of influential reach. So let's dive in. In the 45 plus group of experts, many of whom I'm good friends with, I have noticed a sentiment that has been coming up. As they've got years of experience under their belt, usually many credentials as they go along and develop that mastery, amazing results for the people that they serve, they look and they see these young upstarts coming, people with sometimes no credentials, very little experience, but they're getting all the attention and the business. And what sometimes comes up is a sense of, why are they getting all the attention and the business? I'm the one who has all the mastery and the amazing outcomes. And rightfully so. However, being an expert does not guarantee that you're going to be influential or have audience reach. And guys, this is why I do what I do. And if that's you, I can help. We've got all kinds of services going on over here. I've coined the word reachology. That's my trademark word. And we have a quiz that will help identify your gaps in your influential reach and will help you close those gaps so that you, the expert, the hidden gem, can truly rise up and be seen as the expert in your space. But I do have another story for you. And in this story, see if you can identify the sentiment of being like almost like a proud papa in the background. So listen to this story that showed up in my LinkedIn feed from Panda Ludwick. I got turned down to do a guest lecture at a prestigious university. The polite but direct response was that they were looking for someone who was a CEO of a business they actually heard of. I was too small fries to cover my own travel expense and guest lecture. At first, it stung a little bit. It made me feel small. But within a day, I found myself thinking about it and I chuckled out loud. You see, when I got over my ego being hurt and actually thought logically about it, I realized that I had been the trusted advisor to those CEOs that the university wanted to book. The university just didn't know that. I've been the one in the background having the difficult conversations, asking the probing questions, and leading these leaders to some of their most powerful moves. That's my role as a business advisor, and that's what I do. And that is so much fun, serving my clients in this way. Even if the entire planet does not know my company's name, my clients know what we're about, and that's what truly matters. So my encouragement to you today is, if someone has you feeling small or irrelevant, think about the people you serve. How have you helped them in their life or in business? What are their wins? You matter deeply to them. Ego out, gratitude in. Let's go. So in this story that Panda shared, I picked up two sentiments actually. One was a sense of disappointment, and one was a sense of like paternal pride or teacher pride. So her students have accomplished what she was trying to do, in the sense that she was trying to get the attention of these universities. But because she had been so busy serving her students, they have companies and they have brands that are known by these universities. And so the universities were choosing her students, not knowing she was behind the power and the performance that they had come to understand. And it is in this that I'm talking about, that she also had that sense of paternal pride. She was proud of her students for being able to get the jobs at the universities, while herself being slightly disappointed that it didn't come for her, because she ends with celebrating gratitude over ego. And I feel like this story represents a lot of how God views us. Now, this is for the Christ follower now. If you're not one of those, just suspend your aggressiveness for a few moments. For the Christ follower, we understand that every talent and resource and blessing is from above. Nothing, we came here with a clean slate, and everything we have comes from God. And God is looking on. And when we perform excellently, guys, we don't have to be preaching for us to be making God feel like a proud daddy. When we show up excellently in the gifts and talents that He has given us, He is feeling like a proud daddy. Now, how much more amazing when we say, yes, thank you, I appreciate the accolades. However, I'm pointing that glory back to where it came from. What if Panda students had said, thank you for recognizing my talent and my performance? Panda Ludwick was my teacher. Can you imagine if that had happened for her? Then even though they were considering these students, they would have heard of her and her organization, even if they had not directly interfaced with it. And that is how I feel like God feels when He looks at us, when we show up and shine in our brilliance. So here's what Acts 4 verse 13 says. Now, when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated, common men, they were astonished, and they recognized that they had been with Jesus. In other words, because Jesus was their teacher, they showed up powerfully and in such a way that people were astonished at how amazing they were. And then they had to understand that this was coming from their teacher. Luke 10 verse 16 says, the one who hears you hears me. And the one who rejects you rejects me. And the one who rejects me rejects him who sent me. Let's start out back at the beginning. The one who hears you hears me. When we show up excellently, no, you do not have to be preaching. Your excellent work will speak for itself. When you show up and people hear you, Christ follower, they're also hearing Christ, because we are going to show up excellently in whatever we do. That standard is driving our performance, that biblical, spiritual standard, because remember God said, be ye holy because I am holy. That standard undergirds our performance. And so when we show up brilliantly, they're going to recognize that something, who taught us? It will almost beg the question, where did we get this from? They're going to see the boldness and perceive something. And some of us, if we're good about it, we'll actually point back that glory to Jesus. Just as which, if Panda Ludwig students had pointed it back to her. So what exactly is ego? Ego is defined in the dictionary as a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Now, guys, at the foundational level, we all need to have ego. We must have a sense of self-worth and confidence. So what I'm really talking about here is that next step above that, when we're egotistical, when we feel like we're better than others and we're looking down at the others. That is not the way to serve. When you show up to serve, but you are expecting people to bow down to you and think that you're some godlike type, celebrity, that is where the problem comes from. When we serve, we should serve, putting that person and their need, at least temporarily, above ours. And that is different from when we go, oh, man, I'm just, I'm humble. And humility is defined as a modest or low view of one's importance or humbleness. Now, this sounds like a direct contrast to the definition of ego. However, for the sake of this conversation, humility is not about not having a sense of importance, but putting the other person whom you're serving above you for the moment. At least for that moment, you are seeing them and their needs as being more important than yours at the moment of service. Now, here's what academic research has to say. So here's peer-reviewed research. It's relatively recent, and the research was on undergraduate sports management education, exploring ego development and leadership efficacy. I just have an excerpt here, but this research was done among sports students who are going through the undergraduate program to become leaders in the sports management industry. And so they are building up their confidence, they're building up their skills, they're building up their efficacy in leadership. And what was the finding is that students who measure as experts may view experiential education components as more relevant and thus worthwhile if such components are delivered by credible others. Now, let's break this down for a moment. So they're building up these students and they're building them up to be experts. But once they became experts, they are only going to view whatever someone else has to say to them if it is being delivered by credible others. Now, you are likely to be an expert. Chances are, if you're listening to this particular presentation, you are an expert at something. You recognize your expertise in something. Now, let me just say this. You don't have to be the most mastered person at this game. You can help others if you are a step or two ahead of them. The way I like to explain this is if you are a student in a math class, for example, and your peers, other students in the same math class, are struggling with the math concepts that you've picked up very easily from your teacher, you can turn around and tutor those students, even though technically you're at the same level, but you have one or two skill sets ahead of them. So once you recognize that you have the skill set of one or two levels ahead of those you're trying to serve, you become the credible other. And then they're going to be willing to listen to you. And this is where a lot of experts struggle because they're looking on at people who have less mastery, fewer credentials, and even fewer years of experience, but they are getting the attention and the business. And they truly are experts at what they do, mastery in their ability to deliver on results, but they're not yet being received with the same level of reception and attention of the younger upstarts, which is one of the things that I love about what I do here at PSIT TV, because I find these hidden gems and I bring you and expose you to an ever-growing audience that we're building. There are so many of you that have this expertise, but especially in the 45 plus age group, you've just not mastered that new dynamic that of outreach that is out there. It's no longer belly to belly, handshake to handshake, guys. We live in a very digital global world, and some of you have become big fish in very tiny ponds. So, and it does stroke your ego to be seen as a big fish in that very tiny pond. But outside of that pond, you're not known, you're not recognized. But there's no way your business can be sustained or even grow if you're trying to depend on that tiny pond to continually be feeding your business. You've got to jump ponds and go again. You've got to go out there, be on a bunch of podcasts, be on stages, be on shows, be on webinars, whatever the case may be on TV, and get yourself out there to present yourself as the credible other that people are looking for. Week after week, I bring this content so that you have strategies to optimize your opportunities to be recognized for the master and the expert that you are. Right now, many of you are unseen, indistinguishable, one of the many, and God forbid, grouped in with those who don't have the experience and the credentials that you have. But for the audience just looking on, they can't tell the difference between you and the others. So they're going to go where the crowd is going. They're going to go to the ones who can get the attention. And that is why you need to stand out and be seen as the obvious choice from the pack. And that's one of the things that we are working on here at PSIT TV to deliver to our guests. It says TV is still the most popular form of video. It is, and being seen on TV gives a brand a stamp of quality and credibility, because TV is an exclusive platform. So while you absolutely should be on podcasts and on social media, you should probably include TV in your marketing plan. If you are an expert, How are you showing up? Are you showing up expecting your ego to be stroked, or are you showing up with a servant heart, ready to influence, being the credible others that those experts are willing to receive information from? Trudy Beerman here. I really am super simple to find. And week after week, we share this content. And if you follow the strategies that we share, you will very quickly become the name that comes to mind for the thing that you do, the obvious choice from the pack. You will go as an expert from being unknown to discovered, from being a hidden gem to being the credible person that experts want to learn from.